I want to now bring in former U.S. Air Force Assistant Vice Chief of Staff, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. He is NewsNation's senior national security contributor. General, as always, thank you so much, sir. You and I are picking up exactly where we left off last week. Should Ukraine be concerned that they aren't also at the table at this point?
Well, good morning, Markie. You said it right. A lot on the line here. Secretary of State Rubio is now in Saudi Arabia, along with U.S. Special Envoy to the Mideast Steve Witkoff, as you reported, as well as Senior National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. I say that as a preamble to our comments here, that's quite a a significant senior leadership team. They're ready to meet with their Russian counterparts. Ukraine is involved. Ukraine has had President Zelensky has met or has had discussions with President Trump even on the same day last Wednesday when President Trump had that initial phone conversation with President Putin to line up or to begin the process here. He had met with Vice President Vance in Munich over the weekend at the Munich Security Conference and so forth. So I think you're going to see really President Zelensky, as well as Ukraine, very much involved, as well as our European allies. But this is a start. This is a beginning. The process really even hasn't been established yet. So the fact that we're having bilateral discussions between Russia and the United States, I think, is a good start, starting the dialogue, and then you're going to see unfold. Certainly, Ukraine will be in the middle of the discussions, along with perhaps some of our European allies.
And as I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, now officially in Saudi Arabia, he's going to be leading these talks. He cautions that the process is still early. Take a listen.
Ultimately, it will reach a point when if it's real negotiations, and we're not there yet, but if that were to happen, Ukraine will have to be involved because they're the one that were invaded. And the Europeans will have to be involved because they have sanctions on Putin and Russia as well.
Yeah, so General, what do you think Rubio will be pushing for exactly in this meeting with Russian officials, and what does he have to do to walk away and it be a success?
Interesting enough, Secretary Rubio over the weekend said, these peace negotiations, the negotiations, the peace talks are not a noun, but they're a verb. Lots of action is my point, and his point as well. What he's going to be pushing for is establishing a process, a dialogue. You got to start at the beginning, and that's where we are. He'll have bilateral discussions with the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, and so forth, but the ensuing discussions over the next several weeks will absolutely include Ukraine. As you mentioned, Ukraine is the one that was invaded back in February of 2022, actually all the way back to 2014. So there are some issues with Ukrainian territory involved here. He also brought up the sanctions that Europe is in the middle of in terms of the sanctions levied against Russia, also levied against Putin himself, that are on the shoulders of Europe. My final point here is that what you're going to see also play out, especially with Europe, is backed up by the United States, is significant security guarantees for Ukraine as the talks move forward. You may not see necessarily an invitation for Ukraine to join NATO per se directly, but you're going to see significant security guarantees for Ukraine moving forward in these discussions.
Well, I got to end it there, but we're watching this very closely as it develops in real time. General Richard Newton, as always, thank you. Hope you had a great weekend, sir.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.